We are so grateful that you are joining us here today. And we are so grateful to and excited to talk to Kirby and Tom about their sweet son, Tommy, and any advice that they have to give to other parents that have experienced a stillbirth. And I just wanted to do a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, if you're part of our community, please hit subscribe. That helps us and helps other families find us who need some stories and need help in a really dark time. So hit that subscribe button. That definitely helps us out. Also, this discussion is going to be about stillbirth, and we're going to talk a little bit about pregnancy and parenting after loss. So please just know that this is full of triggers, and to keep yourself safe and happy. And, well, you don't necessarily have to be happy, just safe. Just be safe. And if you don't need to, if it's best for you not to listen to this conversation, please just go listen to something different. So, but I do want to welcome, first of all, Kirby and Tom. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today and to lend a little bit of advice to us on how you guys have navigated these waves of grief that has been the last 3 years. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been really, really good talking about Tommy and sharing him with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Thank you for having. Really appreciate the opportunity and the platform. So happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so grateful that you're here. My husband it was really fun to watch him. He came out of that just beaming. So I know that he had a good time talking to you, Tom.
Fun for sure.
Yeah. For a little bit of background, can you guys tell me how long ago Tommy was born?
Sure. It was 3 years and about 3 months ago. So it was January 6th, 2018.
Okay, so you have 3 years between you and that devastating event, right? How has that been for you guys as you've navigated that since that time? I'm assuming that right afterward it was quite intense and quite difficult. I know that when I talked to Kirby that it was really dark for a little while there.
Yeah. So at first, obviously, it was really, really hard. We were in like the deep, deep trenches of grief for the first, how long would you say? Few weeks, months?
I mean, I go back to work after a couple weeks, but it was just like different milestones you had to hit. Like, his funeral was, of course, extremely tough. And then, preparing to go back to work, and it just, these things kept coming that you had to keep carrying on with your life. And it was just so hard. But I mean, honestly, still lasts today, but it was really hard for probably extremely hard, I'd say, for about 4 months. And then throughout the whole year, like the holidays and stuff like that.
The holidays were really, really hard for us.
Those were extremely hard. Like the first Christmas, even Halloween, stuff just missing with him was like triggers all over the place. And just watching TV and stuff, like everyday activities, you just would lose it. So I'd say the full year, to be honest, was extremely tough. It was on everything, relationship and just life, just each day waking up, to be honest.
Like as you're saying that, I was like, yeah, that first year is so hard. And the holidays are, I feel like, oh man, I remember the first Easter. I was like, this is a disaster. Like I wasn't expecting it to be so hard, but it was real. I just remember it being a disaster because I was like, yeah, we were both Lee and I were not good.
Just speaking about the holidays, like the build up for Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Oh, that was
wow.
Oh, that was so hard.
You knew that was coming in a month, and then, oh my God, 2 weeks, oh my God, a week, and it's here on Sunday, and just the build up for that. And that day, because Tommy was our firstborn, it's so just that feeling of
it was like it was like an identity crisis almost. Like, yes, you're a mom and yes, you're a dad, but like you don't have your baby like physically in your arms. So it just felt so wrong in every which way and awkward and uncomfortable and heartbreaking. And
then you get alerts from like Snapchat, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Father's Day. And it's just everywhere. And you're just like, oh my God, just you hope the day ends so quick. You just kind of want to sleep all day.
And that's kind of like all the holidays were like that. I remember for the first Easter, we did go to the beach, just Tom and I, but like, it's just, we didn't want to, both Tom and I were kind of the same in that we just wanted to be like around each other or like some immediate family members, but like we didn't want to celebrate anything or go to like any events, even restaurants. Like we just couldn't didn't have it in us. It just felt too wrong at the time.
The basement was our our safe zone. So I had to go back to work a couple weeks after Tommy, and that was another one of those, milestones we had to come across. That was so hard. But just when I get off work, I just go in the basement and just sleeping in the basement, just TV on, was my safe spot. And I did that pretty much throughout the year, the whole year, pretty much. We both did that.
Right. It took way too much energy to even think about doing anything else. Tommy's first birthday, how do we celebrate that?
His first birthday.
I feel like we didn't make a huge deal out of it. We did, obviously, our acts of kindness. And I remember I had sent special acts of kindness to 6, because his number is 6 since he was born on the 6th of January, to 6 different moms who I had connected with on social media. So that was the special thing. This year, we actually were able to donate on his birthday, on his 3rd birthday. We were actually able to donate bears and books and bracelets. And was there anything else? Bears, books, bracelets.
Yeah.
And I mean, we wrote letters and we were able to donate them to the local hospital, county hospital, where we attend support groups. So that was really, really felt nice for us.
That's
awesome. First birthday, now that I think about it, that's when Ace was baptized. We set it up so our second son was baptized on his birthday.
Okay, that's what it was. I was talking about the 2nd birthday.
Yes.
And the 3rd.
What we do from now on, you were talking about.
Okay. So you're right. So the first birthday, we had Ace's baptism.
Okay.
And we did
really quickly, just to let everybody know. So first of all, if you haven't listened to both of their birth episodes, go back and listen to those or watch those. But I want to just point out that you guys were able to basically have a rainbow baby that you adopted from Mississippi, right? And you guys got him how long ago after Tommy's birth?
It is 10 months.
10 months.
I believe.
I was talking about it earlier. It's the lowest of low. You don't think you'll ever come out of this grief and your life is just over, basically. So that whole year, months pass and I'm just want to just go in the basement, sleep. And my wife, Curve's always been so passionate about adoption, even before Tommy. So I came home from work one day and she kind of laid out this is why we should pursue adoption. It was the best decision we've ever made, because we still, prayed, thought about Tommy, and we still do every day. But it kind of kept us, gave that hope and us kept occupied, something to work for. And it's not all doom and gloom. There's like you said, a rainbow after this crazy storm. So
I agree with that. I feel like hope is this 4-letter word that meant really nothing to me my entire life. And then all of a sudden we were surviving off of it. And I would say after I hit the 3-month mark, I was okay, we were putting our hope into another child. Because it didn't have obviously we weren't replacing Tommy or anything like that, but we just I felt okay, I'm ready for this. But like Tom said, I had always wanted to adopt, and it was never if, but rather when. And I feel like God had placed adoption on my heart at a young age because he knew the future and he knew what my future specifically would hold. And so it was, like Tom said, the greatest decision that ever happened to us. But the adoption process is by no means easy at all.
Right.
It is filled with grief, and for, biological parents and adopted parents, there's so many layers to adoption. So we started navigating that journey, and it was so good for me. I was able to get all the paperwork together, and there's so many steps in it. And like Tom said, it provided us with so much hope. I mean, it saved us. Don't you think?
Hunter, that year, like we were talking about, was extremely tough, but this is the only thing that kept us. I became extremely, Kirby's always had the strongest faith, but it drew us even closer to God and having faith, especially me, losing Tommy and just praying to him every day, praying to God, asking him to help us through this dark time. So I became really close to our faith, and so did Curb. But yeah, the whole adoption process made that year, like, it was the hardest process. And I'll be honest, Kirby handled like 90 of the paperwork. I had to go to work, and that was so emotional for me. So she did all that as her work. And
but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but that process, I signed up for it, and I thought it'd be like, but it was so much more intense than I thought.
Not, but right. And it really, I truly feel like it helped us so much on our healing journey as well. And it taught us so much because there's so many ups and downs with it. So just to give you a little bit of detail without going into too much detail, we had 3 failed or disrupted adoptions throughout the journey. And one of them was really difficult because we had been like connected with this particular woman, this expectant mom, for a while and building a relationship with her and things like that. But it was like God was in all of the details. Like that happened, and like obviously because it ended up leading us to ACE, but we had so many realizations during that process and so many moments where we were like, wow. Like, for example, after that 3rd failed adoption, we were like, okay, what is God calling us to do at this point? Like, we needed to stop and pray, and we took a break from the process to really like tune in to, okay, yes, we have hope for another child, but we need to make sure we will be okay, or we will be, I don't even know the word, without, like, if that never happens, we needed to like find healing and find like, I guess, like satisfaction in the idea of like never having a living child. Like we needed to come to terms with that. So I feel like it just helped us so much with our healing in general. Do you?
I think once we accepted, like, we might not ever have a child on earth, just Tommy in heaven, and any other children. I think once we accepted, that could happen, then that aligned everything. And that's when we shortly after got the news that a mother chose us from Mississippi. And we went to church that day, and the priest was talking about going all in, about life and having faith. And we got the call like shortly after. It was like this
sermon that was like God was speaking for you directly through priest to us. Like it was all about like, just when you're close to just giving up, don't do it. Like just put everything in, basically like put it all in and just rely that God's going to carry you through, and God's going to, I don't even know, God's going to provide.
Yeah.
And
just put all your faith in him. Yes. And don't worry so much about the details. Just trust his plan. And then we got a call shortly after the sermon. Kerr walked outside. We were getting breakfast with her family, and a mom chose us from Mississippi. And then cloud 9, but we were extremely nervous. Just everything we've been through and losing Tommy and the whole adoption process. But we just packed up the bags and went all in and decided to drive to Mississippi and, of course, pursue it. But I mean, that was something could have went wrong any second. Like she could have changed her mind, or that's how the adoption works. So,
but we have been blessed with the absolute, like, I can't even like describe Ace's biological family. They're like the greatest people we've ever met. Oh. And like, we know that God has connected us like for a reason and for a greater purpose. And it's just like, it kind of reminds me of like the journey to Tommy. Like, yes, it's like this hardest thing happened, but we would do it all again to have met him. And like the same thing with adoption. It was like this crazy windy road, but like we would do it again to meet like Ace. Like, so it's really special. And then we found out we were pregnant with our 3rd little boy, Miles. And that pregnancy was very scary for me. There was, I would say, a lot of complications. Did you think?
I mean, pregnancy after loss is, I'm pregnant, obviously, but like emotionally for me, I've never felt so all over the place. I can imagine what Curb was going through, but I mean that
the only time I ever felt okay was if like we were at the doctor's listening to the heartbeat. Yeah. But then like the second I was in the car ride home, I was like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
So, I mean, and the placenta was in the front for this one. So no movements.
So it
Oh,
was so hard. Like I had said on the previous episode that Tommy, I could feel him moving all the time. This
yeah.
baby was, no, I could not feel
Oh,
much. They described it as having like a pillow in front of like, so the baby would like kick a pillow basically. So I couldn't feel, it would like mask a lot of Miles' movements. So towards the end, we had two major scares. But during our 20-week anatomy scan, I knew something was wrong because just the way that the ultrasound technician was like acting. And then right when I saw the doctor's face, I knew it. And so they had found 3 soft markers for, they told us at the time, either Down syndrome or something else, but they wouldn't know like what that something else was, and that they would know more at 28 weeks. And this was 20 weeks. So obviously we're like trying to process that. And I'm saying like, okay, God doesn't make mistakes. However God creates this baby is going to be beautiful with special needs or not. But I really, really, really want this baby to survive. Like, no matter, like, it was just like so hard. So them saying like, we don't know Down syndrome or something that like they weren't sure of,
right.
that like I didn't know if it would be like compatible with living outside of the womb and things like that. So it was definitely scary. And then
I'll just add in, it felt like we just kept getting news that was like, besides Ace, which was the happiest when Tommy was born, that was happy, sad, all those emotions. But Ace was like the peak.
Such a miracle.
But I felt like we kept getting hit and knocked down. Like,
just like really,
like we finally get a pregnancy, healthy. I mean, and then we get the news at the 20-week ultrasound. You know, there's some soft markers we don't know, and I'm just like, oh, here we go again.
Right, and again, just the unknown.
Just it's not about like you know some stuff that we've been fine with, but it's just unknown about the health of the baby going forward.
So that was scary. And then
but can I add in having Ace, like if we didn't have Ace, he kept us like we had to take care of him, so he kept me sane. And
I mean, anyone who knows Ace just like knows that he lights up the entire room. Like his little personality, like from the time he was a newborn, like he's the sweetest little guy. So yeah, he kept us completely going through.
I think
like,
that's, I was going to say, I was like, that is one thing, like our daughter, after we had our loss, it was like, we had to make sure that we kept our daughter alive like that. And that sounds like exactly what, like, you're like, I have to take care of this baby. Like we have something to get up for every day and try and work for. So
purpose then. There was a huge purpose.
And we needed that because pregnancy after loss is hard.
And it was. And with Down syndrome, there's a higher chance of a risk of stillbirth. So like that was always in the back of my mind. And so there was other things. I feel like I got a call after the gestational diabetes test saying that I was not high. I was completely low, and they had never seen anything like it. And then, so I had to do, where I would take my blood sugar before and after every meal, around the clock, things like that, to make sure. So like there was that. And that was, again, nothing in the big scheme of things. But at the time it was tricky because it was like, they don't know why this is happening, but it's something else that's happening, and it's just scary. And I knew at that point there was only one way out, and that was through. And it was either we were going to have this baby and the baby was going to survive, or he wasn't. And we knew what that looked like and felt like if he didn't. So it was tricky for us. But then Miles was born on May 12th, 2019. And
Ace was 6 months.
They're 6 months apart. And
so great.
They're so
Ace, it's so fascinating because Tommy, when he was born, it's like you have so many emotions. So it's not like, a healthy baby being born. Of course, he has no heartbeat. So you're happy to hold your son, but at the same time, you're pissed off, you're depressed, you're sad. So it's all these emotions. For Ace, the whole adoption process, you're so excited to see him born, but you don't know like what's going to happen. Like it's still not official.
Well, and I felt so and it felt heartbroken for his
Yeah.
biological
Yep.
family. And like, it was just so many emotions and layers to that as well.
And then when Miles was born, you didn't really have those two factors. So I couldn't control my emotions. I just kept crying, and I was
I was
just
gonna
like,
say you did.
the
Yeah.
moment was like, I feel bad saying like the top moment of my life because my other two sons were, just as big, but there was he was there, his heart was beating, and there was no like other heartbreak that went along
And
with it.
for me, it was like I was still, I think when they showed me him, I was like, okay, they said he was having like, is he okay? Like, I don't even think I let myself enjoy as much as I should have those moments after birth, because I was like, is he breathing? Is he alive? Is that cry coming out of him? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I think not high risk was great. It's what we needed because it was more appointments, more reassurance. But yeah, I think they found
everything.
They found everything, even though they had these concerns when there probably shouldn't have been. And it really made us emotional. But yeah, it was that birth experience. I can't even describe it. Like, it was pure happiness and probably the peak of my life.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah. And I kind of feel like that about all three of them. Like, Tommy's was like I said, the saddest, but the greatest. And Ace's was just amazing. And again, so heartbreaking, but just beautiful. And then same with Miles. So I just feel so thankful to have had all three of those experiences, because I feel like they've all shaped me into who I am today.
They're all so different. So it's made us stronger. Just, definitely who we are today because of it.
Yeah. Isn't it funny where you're like, when you have a little bit of distance from the anguish after each of those experiences, you're just like, oh, okay. I see something a little, I can see from the weeds. I'm just not in the middle of it all. So,
oh yeah.
So I know that you, at least Kirby told me that you guys had created you went to the mall and you got some necklaces made after Tommy passed away. Do you guys have any other things that you use to represent Tommy or remember him by?
My mom and sisters made these early on, and they're these little angels, and they put them all around. So we actually moved. We're not in the same home that we were when Tommy was born, but we obviously brought them with us. So these are just all around in special places in our house. And we've kind of created like an environment where we can feel him. We do have his picture hanging in our room, like a little spot for him there. And then we have over here, like when you walk up the steps, there's like an area where we like decorate for each holiday with all of his stuff.
It's his little corner.
And then his blanket, actually, the boys will sleep with, which is sweet, on the white blanket that he was wrapped in. So both the boys love that. And
I think we have his little shoes.
Oh yeah, we have.
What are they called?
My mom got us this really special box with his name. So we have all of his, like the booties and stuff, and the hat from the hospital. And the hat even has still like a little like blood stains on it, which I love because it's him. Yeah. It's from him. So yeah, we have all of his stuff, and we try to keep I have my necklace. Tom wears his too.
So my favorite thing to remember him by, I've worn this for 3 straight years. I bought one of these expensive necklaces that, can withstand water and all that. So
he just keeps his on.
I keep mine on all the time, and his name's engraved. It says 2018, January 6th, and Tommy Jr. But I just wear it everywhere, and I was thinking about a tattoo, something like that. Didn't go that direction. And this necklace, just the whole process, buying it and going to the mall, out of the basement, and knowing you're doing something for him, yourself, and just keeping his, presence here on earth it was a great day, to be honest. It was just overall a very emotional, but happy day. And we didn't have too many of those after, he passed away, of course.
And then I think we're going to start like a little garden, because we moved into last summer. So we're going to start like a Tommy garden. My mom at her house, she has like a spot too. And it's really sweet. She has like all of these gems and shells and all these special, like they glisten in the sun. And now all of like Ace and Miles and their cousins, like they'll go up and they'll sit, and Ace will say Tommy's spot, and he'll go sit and
Oh.
he'll play with it all. So it's sweet. I was really worried, especially in the early days, like how are we going to make sure that no one forgets Tommy, or like that we're not like moving on from him and all this stuff. And then I realized like it doesn't matter who remembers him, because like we as his parents remember him every second of every day. And we naturally learned how to, I would say, easily carry him like right with us, like right in the, and multitask. Like I can think about him every second of every day and I carry him in my heart, but I can like do everything else as well. And I can like be a really great mom to Ace and Miles. And I feel like that it's so much more natural than you would think to like carry your child with you.
That's a beautiful way of putting it, carrying your child with you. And I also think that you guys are really good about talking about Tommy kind of openly, because it sounds like your family is super open to talking about him.
Yes. And I think that's like something that we in the beginning, like we like really were passionate about, because we didn't want people to, especially close to us.
I give my wife a lot of credit for that, because I mean, no one knows how to handle a situation like this. So I wasn't sure, like there's family members not sure if they should bring him up, or but Kerr made it very clear, like we need to say his name, talk about him, and that was the best decision, because I loved saying his name, talking about him. So do his family members now, and it's it's just natural, not weird or anything like that, because from the beginning, that was her mindset, and it's the best way for us to remember him.
And I did share before in the other episode that what Father John said to us about, our priest said that Tommy will do more in heaven for us than we could ever do on earth. And again, at first that was on earth for him. And like, that was so hard to hear that, because we were like, no, we were going to like give him the best life here. But like, obviously he's having an extraordinary life in heaven. And the reason why I'm so passionate about us like talking about him and keeping his spirit alive here is because I especially want the boys to learn like all that their brother has done for them and us, and just all the goodness that has come from a really dark time. And I feel like we can do that through talking about him. And it just helps them realize like all good things come from above, I guess.
And he's done more, to Curb's point, in these 3 years for us than you can ever imagine. Like,
oh my gosh.
I mean, he brought Ace and Miles to us. Just without Tommy, we wouldn't be a family today.
And I had mentioned like what Jerry's walking through, and I just we feel Tommy so much as being our advocate in heaven, and just so many prayers are being answered in regards to Jerry's cancer, and just he helps lift all of us up. And I think it's important to like recognize that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For those who haven't heard the other episodes, go listen to those other episodes. But Jerry is Kirby's younger brother. Is that right? Is it a younger brother? Okay.
Yeah.
And he
19 or 20, but he's 19.
He has cancer, and so young. And so it sounds like he is getting some strength from above, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. So
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. We're confident with Tommy up there, and
and we've seen God like work so many miracles on our behalf, that like we know he's working so many miracles in Jerry's life, and it's amazing.
Now you guys, you are obviously a very believing family. You come from a really believing family. You guys have churches very big in your lives. And it sounds like your priest is has been a good advisor, a good mentor, a good leader for you. Has that been pivotal for your healing, that spiritual tie to heaven?
Definitely. I feel like I said before, like Jesus was always a huge part of my life growing up. And now he's like the center of it, the center of all of our lives. And we realized that like we can do hard things because of him, because he's going to carry you through. There was so many times when I thought I can't do this one more second. Like this is just way too hard. And it was something that I couldn't bear to keep doing. And so I had to draw strength from above. and I've never been let down since I did that. But I guess in terms of like if somebody was like trying to find a faith, where to start, there's so many ways, but Jesus Calls, Jesus Calling, and it's a book by Sarah Young, and it's a daily devotional. And I just feel like that is it's so beautiful. The words, it's like, if you know, when you start reading it, and it just is so relatable. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like that would be a good place to start. What about you, Tom?
So after Tommy passed away, I had a lot of thoughts going through my mind, as you can imagine. I had questions like, what did I do? What is God punishing me? I took it really deep, and I took it like it's something I did. But going to the church, talking to our pastor, he told me God's nothing but good. So he kind of, having that faith, honestly, I don't think I'd be able to make it through the process without it, because it helps you believe that Tommy is in a much better spot up in heaven. He's looking down on us, and it helps put things into perspective. Like, this is such a small amount of time on earth, where heaven's eternity. And with not leaning on that faith, I don't know where I would have turned. Honestly, I could have turned to, scarier, worse things. So definitely reached out to the church, talking to Father John, meetings with him. We also had support groups that we attended that were extremely helpful, because
really
it helps you feel like you're not alone, because, your friends, family, typically, this is so rare to happen, stillbirth. So you think you're like the only ones in the world this happens to. Your friends you see are getting pregnant. You see, on Facebook, social media, all these pregnancies and all these gender reveals, everything's so smooth. But these support groups, you guys it helped us vent and get those feelings out, and they're experiencing the same thing. So that was big for us.
And you realize how many similar thoughts people have.
Yeah.
And feel less alone in a really scary time. It helps. The connections are so good.
I feel like the only people that truly get it are the ones that have the parents and families that have lived through it. So your friends, God bless them, they're trying the best they can to comfort you. But it's such a unique, crazy experience with all these emotions. So only people that I feel like have lived through it. Friends and stuff help, but they, get the exact feelings, which are hard to describe.
And I've actually had people say to me, I couldn't even begin to put myself in your shoes to even imagine it, because I can't go there. It's too hard.
Yep.
And so,
but I also read some books. Like, I feel like there's not much out there for the husband, to be honest. I forgot the name of the book. I'll have to send it to you guys. But there was one written by a husband, and he came up with the book because he noticed the same thing. There wasn't any much for husbands out there. And I read that helped big time. And a big takeaway from that book was it said, going forward, of course, your life will never be the same. You will have some of the lowest lows out of anyone in the world because of what you've been through, but you'll appreciate everything so much more. You have some of the highest highs. And I can't speak the truth to that. That's hit hard with me, and it's been 100% what we're going through now. So anytime I wake up and see Ace, Miles, I feel like I'm even higher than I would be without Tommy, because you appreciate just the journey,
you just appreciate everything.
Birthdays, holidays. Every day is just beautiful.
You just can't believe it. Sometimes I'm just like, I can't believe that we're looking at them, and I'm handing him a cup of milk. How is this happening? It's so good.
Yeah, I just sometimes Miles is asleep, and I just look at him and I'm like, wow, so cool. There he is. And same with Ace. I'm just like, man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I was like, Ace did this today and blah, blah, blah. And it's fun.
And when they call you daddy when they say daddy, dad,
it's so sweet.
Mom, it's the sweetest feeling.
Yeah, it is. I love, okay, this is the thing that I've taken away. Even when I talked to you, Kirby, on the phone before, and I'm just talking to you guys both, I love that, because this is how I feel, is that you have felt the deep dark hole, and it is horrible, and you never want it to be there ever again, but then everything is so just sweet after that. The things are, and it makes you feel I love the fact that you said, I don't have a to-do. I never do to-do lists anymore, because you're I want to live and just appreciate your time with your boys and time with your family. And I just, I think that's a great way of putting it. It just the contrast makes it so the sweet times sweeter and the happier times happier. So I really
Yep.
like that. I
Definitely.
just a great way of putting it. So, because right now, there's a good chance that somebody's watching this and has just experienced a loss. Say something to that person who is maybe experiencing the loss right now and might not see the end of the tunnel at this present time.
Will you go first?
Sure.
Some of the advice I would give is you think like in the current moment, like what's the point like of going on? Like, all you ever wanted was that child, and what's the point of kind of living life anymore and celebrating, going out? And I kind of wanted to check out and just stay in my basement, like I said, all the time. But some of the darkest times lead to, like we talked about, some of the brightest futures. So my life right now, I mean, her brother's going through cancer, which is really tough on us. But like I said, we're confident because we have Tommy up in heaven. We're strong in our faith. But my life right now, as far as, immediate family and our house and just our general life, is so great to what it was after Tommy passed away. So you don't see it now, but if you just keep that hope alive and keep pushing and, having that belief that you're doing this, for whatever reason, if it's, to be better Christian, or if it's better to, for brothers and sisters of the one you lost, just keep that hope alive and pushing through it, because it will get better and it will be happier times ahead for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, like, go at your own pace and just do what feels right. Lean into all the emotions that you're feeling, the good, the bad, the awful. Like, readjust your expectations for yourself, because what you're going through is the hardest thing ever. And like, even just taking a shower, or maybe you don't that day, and that's fine too. But just having, like, taking it like a minute at a time at first, and then like hour by hour, and then like day by day. And we still take it day by day. Like I said, like, we just live in the moment. And something else is just, you're going to find a new reality, and it might look similar to how it did before, but it might look completely different. And that's fine too. The last thing is, this was a huge, huge turning point in my journey when I stopped comparing. Comparison, I feel like, is such a thief. It just robs so much from you. It takes so much from you. And it just brought me down into the hole, like, every time. Like, anytime I would compare, like, our story to, like, our friends, or who were just, like, obviously we don't know what people are actually going through, but it appeared that some people were just planning their life, and it just, like, was working out for them. And like, for us, it was so far from that. And I think, like, you can't compare, because God has a different purpose for everyone, and God has a different story, and he doesn't make mistakes. And just, yeah.
And that's so hard to do this day and age because of social media.
It is so hard.
So you get on 2 seconds, you see all these.
So-and-so had their baby, so-and-so's expecting.
So I've noticed, Curb made that, amazing stride. And I mean, that's when big difference. And that's a great point. I feel the same way.
And I tell Jerry too, I'm like, God has extraordinary plans for some people. And like, we should consider ourselves the lucky ones who get this, like, life and a second chance to live, to be like, okay, this is my purpose. This is my calling. This is who I really want to be. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those are great words of advice. I think that hopefully that will help somebody that is going through this. A couple of last questions that I have for you guys. I love this question because people always ask us this, like, what should I say to somebody that has gone through this loss? And what should I not say? So I'm curious to know if there's anything has brought you balm to your soul, or has graded you the wrong way, rubbed you the wrong way, that you would maybe recommend saying to a lost mom or a lost dad.
Okay. Can I go first for this one? I would say I loved, and to this day, I love anyone who can acknowledge your pain. Like, anyone who can say, like, oh my goodness, what you're going through is awful, and it's so hard, and I'm so sorry, and I don't know what to say, but this is just so hard. That helped me and continues to help me really, really like far beyond anything else. Just acknowledging that what the person or what the family is going through is tough. What wasn't helpful for me is anyone who would say like the but, like try to think of like something positive for us. Like, well, this has happened, like, but you'll probably have more kids, or but you can try to get pregnant again, or but, and it's like that wasn't helpful for me. So yeah, anyone who could acknowledge the pain, that helped so much. And saying something rather than nothing. It was always like kind of shocking when people like didn't bring up anything, because I was just like, okay, kind of like, the elephant in the room, like, wow.
Yeah, I kind of echo that. Anyone that said, I can't imagine what you're going through. I think like a couple of my friends had like daughters, and they said, I couldn't imagine if that happened. Like that really hit home to me, because they're putting themselves in my spot. They're just having the hardest time. But the ones, I was in sales, so going back to work, it was so hard for me because I had to go in and see customers. They knew my wife was pregnant. So I heard so many different responses. The ones that I didn't like, or like the least, were, well, your wife's so young, right? You're so young, just have another one or something. That was one I probably got the most. And I developed thick skin with it, and just kind of tuned it out. Like, yeah. Anyway, so, but I think the ones where they put yourself in the shoe and you could tell that they were really had this deep sympathy, and it just hit them hard, and they just, to Kirby's point, were.
And just to add one more thing, like about when people would say like, you're young, you can have more, like that was so hard for me to hear, because I like shut down. I was like, oh my gosh, you don't understand what that will look like. Like, that's not just like, oh, let's go get pregnant and like have another baby. Like there's so many layers to that, that those 9 months are just going to feel impossible. Like that's going to be the, like first pregnancy or pregnancy before loss bliss. Like that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So like you're heightened to everything. So I always thought like the road to another child would be so hard, and we would have to really fight for it. And that has proved correct. Like the road to Ace and Miles were really had to fight for them.
Yeah, I think, in all fairness, the people that are seeing me after Tommy, and like if I was in their spot, I try to put myself in their spot. I didn't know anything about stillbirth before we lost Tommy, or I didn't know much about loss before Tommy, to be honest. So I put myself in their shoes, and I always try to think what I would say if, that happened to someone. And honestly, it hurts me to say it, but I'd probably be the same type of person to be like, oh yeah, you'll be okay, or something, to try to talk positive. But you don't realize that till you live through. That's not what you want to hear. And I just don't think they're educated on the whole pregnancy loss and stillbirth, grief. And they're just probably had nothing like that happen to them.
Yeah.
So I don't think they don't mean any harm. It's just so hard to hear. And I don't think you really know what to say. I was way more
sensitive to what people would say, and Tom would try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, well,
yeah, I'd always try to give the benefit of the doubt, because I think people are good in general, and I don't think they're trying to help you out. And you got to kind of look at it like that. But I just don't think they're educated on the whole, pregnancy loss, and there's not much people go through it. I know it's common, 1 in 3, but as far as, it's still, I don't think much people experience it, to be honest. So it's uncharted waters, basically.
Yeah. And I think that's very kind of you, because I think Lee actually takes that stance as well. He's like, people they just don't understand the full depth of how horrible it is, like how gut it just kicks you in the gut. And he just like, let's give people the benefit of the doubt, because they're just trying to help. They don't know what to say. They're just trying to help. So you guys are much better than I am anyway.
No, it was much better. I got so bent out of shape.
Yeah. It took a lot of time too. I'm not trying to come across as like right after Tommy. I was angry, and I was just, so it took, years to kind of get that mindset.
Yeah.
So
and now at this point, I'm kind of at the point where if anyone brings him up and says anything, I like it better than not saying anything at all. So
it is what it is, right? Yeah. And I wanted to actually come back to one thing that you said, Tom, about you were really angry afterward. And I think that we all go through, right? Like that is one of the stages of grief or whatever it happens to be. I'm wondering how you guys worked through your own anger as you came across it, because like I would be angry one day and then the next day would be happy, but anger is, I think it takes people by surprise actually. How did you guys deal with that?
Like, I'm not an angry person. I experienced it. So you're right. It did take me by surprise, but you just get pissed off about everyone, everything, because they're not going through this pain, which isn't right, but it's, you can't help your feelings. The way I coped with it is just talking to my wife, Curb. I think talking things through, like why you're angry, and just communication to someone you're close with kind of helps you vent and kind of clear the air.
And just not putting ourselves in situations with like groups of people.
Try to
we
avoid
really
these
stayed to
situations.
ourselves for a long time.
Yeah, staying to yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we did. And that was healthy, and it helped us now. Like, it helped us big time doing that early. And just physically, walks. We went on a ton of walks. We probably walked miles and miles after Tommy just because it was peaceful, saw the trees, things like that. Talking, jogs, just small stuff like that to help your body kind of with the anger and just relax a little bit.
And what I did, I also am not an angry person by nature. And I got so angry for a while, and, or like in and out of it. But something that I did to help myself was so on social media, I just like strictly like followed like lost moms, like other lost moms in the community. And that was like so good for me because I didn't have to see, like, to this day, like I still don't have, I used to have like everyone from high school and college, like all these people. And now I have like maybe 20 people on my Facebook, or like, I don't even know. And then like Instagram, I have like all the lost moms on my account. So it's like, I don't see the day to day. And like I said, to this day, I don't see the day to day things that everyone's going through. And that's what was like, I needed to do that for my own sanity. I couldn't see all those birth announcements and pregnancy announcements and all of those good things. And it sounds selfish, but it was just something that I had to do to stay sane, I guess.
Yeah. I think staying off social media was huge for me too. It just, you get angry when you get on. It's nothing good can come from it. What I've learned in the long run is social media is, I really think there's more bad that can come from than good, because people are only sharing all their, good experiences.
Tom would be like, okay, they're sharing this, Kirby, but like, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to put like, when they lose somebody, they put it up there sometimes, but no one's going to put like having it's more about, look at me, look what I'm doing. That's so great. Look at my family, and nothing. I feel like it's like a competition almost. And it's not healthy. And
so I was like thankful that I could like remove myself from that. Like I had enough knowledge and like, just, I don't know. I just like was able to like be in tune to my feelings enough to be like, okay, this isn't healthy for me to see all of this. Yeah. Like, I'm just not going to look at it. Yeah. I'm going to remove myself from the situation. And that was so good. And that really helped with my not comparing too.
Yeah.
And one more thing to add that I got angry about was, it seems maybe stupid now, but looking in the moment at the time, like Tommy, we didn't know the sex, if he was going to be a boy or girl. We wanted to keep it a surprise. And then we found out he was a boy, after we learned he was he had no heartbeat, and after he was born. But like, even just, I get angry watching TV. I get angry, like watching, I love sports, and I would like watch football, and I get angry because I would think like, what if Tommy was really in the football, became a football player?
And your mind
just goes, and then you turn on TV commercials about dads, and then just even, I remember I got back in the Boy Meets World for a little bit, like watching that TV show, and then it just would hit me at random times, like, man, this is about a younger kid going to high school. This could have been Tommy. So like, anger came a lot from even watching TV and things like that. So just in the beginning. I
just have to say one thing. One time I'll never forget, when I went back to work, I heard someone coming in saying, oh my gosh, I had the worst night of my life. And I was like, what happened? And it was that her daughter was sick. And like, I just, all of a sudden, like, those worst night of my life, like, it just took on a whole new meaning for us, because just phrases and stuff I was so sensitive to for the longest time.
Yeah, we would look back like a bad day before this would be something like sitting in traffic for like an hour.
Right.
But
Yeah, and it's nothing.
we don't live life like that, which Tommy's brought so much good to us. So examples like that, like traffic's not a big deal. Just these.
And we say that too. Anything materialistic, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's materialistic and like it's fine. It can be replaced, or maybe it doesn't have to be. Like it's not the end all be all anything like that.
Yeah.
Cars, like anything. Like,
Yeah.
Are you okay? You got in an accident. Are you okay? Okay, the car, we'll figure it out. You know?
Yeah. He's helped us not be into that stuff. We weren't really into that before, but now even put it in more perspective that there's so much bigger things in life.
Yeah.
So yeah, phones, cars, everything like that, clothes. We're just sound like we're bums or something, but no, it's very healthy. I feel like.
I love that because it really just puts things in perspectives. Because you're like, yeah, that can be replaced. It's fine. We're going to be fine. You just want to hang on to your people. Like that's kind of the main thing, right? You want to hang on to your loved ones and keep them close. So I think that is a great way of putting it, actually. You guys, it has been so delightful talking to you today. I actually want to just close with and ask you one piece of advice that you would want to share with either a lost mom or lost dad, or even somebody that's trying to support those people. Is there anything that you really want to tell people and share with them?
I would just say the last thing is just be kind to yourself. Do what feels right.
For me, I give advice for the dads since I feel like there's not much out there like we talked about. You always want to try to fix things, and you feel so helpless because you can't fix this. You just got to let your wife or your partner, whoever, go through kind of all those emotions and just be there if they want to talk, but don't take everything so personal. I mean, it's a roller coaster and you can't fix the situation. Just time and with God's help and just going through the motions what will lead to, you guys getting back to some sort of a new normal. But yeah, just kind of being there for her to lean on and not trying to fix everything and do it all at once and giving it time.
Perfect. Thank you so much again, Kirby and Tom. This was such a wonderful talk. And I want to encourage you once again to listen to their birth episodes. They were just so good. And subscribe if you are part of our community and are trying to help others. So thank you again. You guys, this was so awesome and so wonderful. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.